Good morning, everybody. It is another week here in the shop. First, I just want to start off by saying thank you to everybody who liked, commented, all the subscribers that I got from the first video. I was blown away. I'm not lying when I say I expected nothing. I expected this to just go out into the void and for nobody to care, but it was just going to be for me. You all have proven that wrong. I really appreciate it. Woodworking, owning a small business, it's a pretty lonely endeavor. I'm often out here by myself building cool stuff, but it's such a solo thing. And so it's really cool to see so many people out there interested in what I'm doing here. So thanks for coming back. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody coming along, and I hope you'll continue to come along as I do more things. Now, this is a woodworking channel, so today is actually one of my favorite days because it is new project day. I thought up a project over the weekend that I realized would be really fun to make, really fun to have, and that is I'm going to build a gaming table, like a board game table, a card game table for the house, because over the weekend we had some family over for Thanksgiving and people were playing board games on the floor. I thought, well, can't have that. So we're going to put this table into my office. Now I got a pretty small office, so there's not a ton of space. So what I'm going to do with this is actually have it fold up and store on the wall. You'll see as we get into it, that's not really the focus of this video today, because just like with any new project, after you've figured out what you want to do and all the materials you need and all that stuff, is what do you do next? You need to go get the materials. So today we're going to walk through what it's like to go get materials. Now, when you think about you need lumber, where do you go? If you're somebody who said, I'm going to go to the local big box store, or even I'm going to go to a specialty hardwood store like a Rockler or a Woodcraft, stick around because this video is for you. Because today I'm going to show you what it's like to buy lumber from a lumberyard. So let's get going. Come along with me as I hit the road to the lumberyard. Yes, that is a Ford Focus. It is my work vehicle at the moment, but it can hold a surprisingly large amount of lumber. You'll see. Now, I've got a little bit of a drive ahead of me, so I want to talk a bit about what you're going to want to do before you jump in the car and drive to the lumberyard. The first thing that you're going to want to do is find a lumberyard near you. Now, there's a few different ways you can do this. The most obvious one being type lumberyards near me into your search engine of choice. You could also check the yellow pages if you're from the past. But my strongest recommendation would be to get involved in your local woodworking community. I'm sure that if you do a little bit of digging, you could find a local meetup group or a guild. For me personally, there's the Lehigh Valley Woodworking Guild, full of smart, knowledgeable people who are more than happy to share their knowledge with you. Find out where they're buying their lumber. Another thing you could do is talk to your local makers, your local furniture maker, your local woodworker. They may even have some stock that you could buy from them. If they have leftover lumber, they have offcuts that they want to offload onto you, they may give them to you for free, they may give them to you for a discount, they may charge you what they paid for them. Who knows? Your mileage may vary. I can tell you from my experience that every time I make a project, I have tons of offcuts that are too nice to throw away, but too small to use. So if you were somebody looking for something in the 2 to 4 foot range, going to a local maker would be a great place to find material like that. At the very least, they'll be able to tell you where they buy lumber. Once you've identified a lumberyard that you want to check out, the next thing you're going to want to do, and this is going to terrify anyone under the age of 30, is give them a call. It's important that you talk to somebody and find out what their process is. Not all lumberyards sell to the public. Not all lumberyards want you to just stop by. Some of them do, a lot of them do. Typically, if they're one of the bigger productions, they're not going to mind you stopping by. They'll have a front desk. that you can go in and talk to them. But some of these sawmills are one-man operations, and they don't want you stopping by and interrupting their flow, or they might tell you when is a good time to come or not. So it's important to talk to them before you get out there. When I'm talking to them, the first thing I like to do is introduce myself, say, hey, I'm a new woodworker in town. I'm looking to pick up some lumber. Do you sell to the public? They'll frequently say, yep, no problem, come on in. Not everybody does, but most of them do. That's why it's good to check. I'll also ask, do they have any minimum order requirements? Because some places you have to buy a certain amount before they'll even bother with you. Most of the time, they don't mind if it's one board or 1,000 boards. They'll sell it to you. They're happy to take your money. Another question I might ask is, when is a good time to come out? Most of the time, they'll just tell you their hours of operation. I'll say, where should I stop first? Frequently, they'll have a front desk that you can go to. And I also ask, do they take credit cards? Do they prefer cash? What is a good way to pay them? Because sometimes if you show up to these places and you pay in cash, they'll cut you a little bit of a discount. They might take off the 5% charge that they add on for credit cards. And so you can save a little bit of money that way if you're willing to pay in cash. Not every place offers that. Sometimes they don't care if they're not going to cut you a deal for cash or not. But again, for some of these smaller ones where it's just a one-person operation, they're happy to deal in cash because then they don't have to deal with all the extra fees that they have to pay. So it's always good to ask. Okay, you've had all your questions answered. You feel pretty confident that you're going to know what to do when you get there. But there's one more important thing that you're going to need to know about going to a lumberyard or a sawmill. This is going to be completely different than every other buying experience you've ever had. If you're used to going into a store and having people greet you and there to help you and spend all the time making sure that you get the right thing, this is going to be nothing like that. You are going to be completely on your own. Frequently, what will happen is you'll walk into the front desk, you'll say, hey, I'm here to pick up a couple of pieces of maple, whatever you might be picking up. They'll probably point you to a pile and say, there's the pile. Let me know when you're done. That is the amount of help that you're going to get. They're not going to go out there with you. They're not going to stand there next to you and make sure that you're getting what you need or that you're finding everything all right. They're going to expect you to just go out there and get it. But don't worry, because I'm here to walk you through that part of it too. As you can see, we're just pulling up to the lumber yard. I'm going to go in and say hi, and then we'll start picking through some lumber. Okay, we are inside the warehouse at Heacock Lumber. Let's just take a little tour around. This is kind of what you can expect to see when you walk into a lumber yard. So let's take a look. So what you'll find is everything tends to just be stacked up like this. This one happens to be in a building. I've seen them not in buildings. I've seen them kind of out, under an overhang or tarp or something. And they'll typically have them labeled somehow. So you can see cherry, red oak, there's ash down there. So you won't always get that. Sometimes you might have to just know what the species look like. But they have all this stuff stacked up. And basically you can walk through and you can just pick through every little bit here. So we've got some hard maple here. We've got some white oak. We've got some slabs down here. Not every place is going to have slabs. This one does. I'm sure they're happy to sell them to you. If we look over here, you can see it. So this stuff that I just showed was the 4-quarter stuff. This looks to me like 4-quarter walnut as well. And then we get into more of the 8-quarter stuff. This looks like 8-quarter cherry, 8-quarter hard maple, 8-quarter walnut. And that's, I think, 8-quarter ash down there. Yep, says right on the sign. Well, I've got some boards to pick through, so let's go see what we can find. So as you can see, this is a big pile of red oak. I've got my measuring tape out. I'm just checking. It's all different lengths, all different widths. You have to pick through and find the thing that you're looking for. Now, I know that I need all of these boards to be over 8 feet tall because I'm going to be cutting them in half and making a 4-foot long table. And I'm going to be gluing these together. So they need to be 8 feet long so that I can cut them down to 4 feet. Now, as you can see, I'm just kind of going through and checking. I'm checking for straightness, both on the face and on the edges, because some of these things are boomerangs. And you don't have to buy those. You can pick only the good ones that you want to buy. You can see I found a few good ones and I'm just stacking them up off to the side. Do it however you want. We're going to go over this later and add everything up to make sure that we can tell them how much we've bought. Now, once you've picked out all the boards you want, you're going to have to add them all up and find the total number of board feet. You're going to need that number to then tell the person at the front desk how much they're going to have to charge you for the lumber that you're buying. Now, a board foot is a slightly different unit of measure, but all rough lumber is going to be by the board foot, not the linear foot, the board foot. So a board foot is the board's volume, essentially. One board foot is equal to one 1-inch thick, 12-inch long, 12-inch wide board. Now, most of these boards are not 1-inch thick, 12-inch wide, 12-inch long, but because it's the volume, a 2-foot long board that is 6 inches wide and 1-inch thick is also one board foot. So that's what you're going to do is you are going to add up all of the length and the width of your boards, and it will give you the total board foot. Now, I'm going to show you a board foot calculator. There is math that you can do in your head or on your phone and a calculator if you want to. It's just so much easier to just plug all of the information into a board foot calculator and it will spit out all of the useful information. So I'm going to put that up on screen and kind of walk you through what a board foot calculator looks like. I'm going to show you a board foot calculator. So you can type a Google search in and find board foot calculator. Pretty much anyway, this is the one that I use. And I'm going to show you how to use it. So basically, it's really simple. You're going to put in how thick it is. In this case, we're going to do 1 inch. The width, we'll do 6 inches. And the length in feet is 8. You can also change that to feet and inches or inches, millimeters, whatever. And it's going to spit out how many board feet it is. It's as simple as that. There are calculations you can do. It does it for you. You can even go down here a little further and put in how much it is a board foot, and it'll tell you how much it's going to cost. So in this case, one 8-foot long, 6-inch wide, 1-inch thick board is 4 board feet, and it's going to cost you $10 at $2.50 a board foot. Easy as that. You just do that for all the things, add them all up, and then tell them what the board foot number is. I have picked through the pile and found what's worthwhile, and now I'm getting it all loaded up into the car. I'm going to get that stuff loaded up and drive over to the front desk and pay for it all. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that you do want to clean up after yourself a little bit. I know it's in a pile, but when you're picking stuff up, you might be taking stuff, moving it elsewhere. Put it back where you found it. Leave the place in just as good a way as you found it when you walked in. It really goes a long way. Coming up is the exact moment I realize there's a splinter in my hand. Just a friendly tip, get yourself a nice pair of sharp point tweezers, or be smarter than me and just wear gloves. I want to give a big thank you to everyone over at Heacock Lumber. They were all so incredibly helpful, super friendly, great people. If you are in the Philly area or the Lehigh Valley area, I can't recommend checking them out enough. All right, well, let's get this stuff home. Ka-chunk. Okay, we are back in the shop. This is the haul. I have 8 boards of 4/4 or 1-inch thick red oak. They're all about 4 to 5 inches wide. I chose specifically under 6-inch wide because my jointer is 6 inches wide. It's the maximum that it can handle. So anything under 6 inches, I don't have to rip down into smaller pieces and then to be able to surface them. I also picked up this 8/4 or 2-inch thick hard maple because I wanted to make the legs out of thicker material. They didn't have 8/4 red oak, so I had to pick up something else. I decided to go with the maple.
I may use it, I may not use it. We'll see as we get further into the project if I want to make the whole thing out of red oak, if I have enough, or if I want to make it out of some thicker material. It'll get used. If I don't use it for this, I'll find something to use it for. That's the beauty of making things, is you'll always need materials. That'll get used for something. I spent, I think, about $117 with tax and everything on these 9 boards. One thing to know about that one board of 8-quarter hard maple costs almost as much as these 8 boards of red oak. Thicker material is more expensive. The hard maple is a tiny bit more expensive. The red oak is one of the less expensive woods. Just to give some frame of reference, the red oak went for $250 a board foot for the 4-quarter. The 2-inch thick hard maple went for $6 a board foot. 8 board feet in this one board cost $48. These 8 boards was about 25 board feet at $250. Math was around $60-65. That's just, it could have been less expensive had I wanted to go with a different route. This is just how I chose it. I could have kept it under $100, but I decided this is what I wanted, so this is what we're going to get. And ultimately, to build a 4-foot by 3-foot table out of $100 worth of material, $120 worth of material, really not that bad. Now, I will say the caveat that I get to enjoy that you may not be able to is that this is all rough lumber, which means it is not flat. None of the 4 outer surfaces, either of the faces or either of the sides, none of this is flat. So it's not usable in this state. But because I have all of the tools to surface it or to flatten all 4 of the outer sides, I can buy the cheaper stuff. If you don't have these tools or don't have access to these tools, you're gonna spend a little bit more to get what is called surfaced lumber. Because I have all of these tools, I can save a little bit of money. That was an investment that I made early on. I had the space. I had a 1-car garage before this. I invested in getting the tools to be able to buy this cheaper lumber to make this a more sustainable hobby long term. If you want to, you can find these tools. Otherwise, you're gonna spend a little bit more, because the money that I'm saving in dollars to pick up this rough lumber, I am spending in my own time. Or if somebody else was going to do it, I would essentially be paying them to do it, and that is more expensive in the final product. So I don't know what the prices for surface lumber is. I don't buy it for a variety of reasons. 1, because I can surface it myself, and 2, I have yet to find a surfaced piece of lumber that I felt was ready to use, because lumber moves and will continue to move and warp and twist as it sits out. So I think even the surface stuff, you still need to surface. Allegedly, you can use it. It's already surfaced. It's already flattened. Maybe you'll get lucky. I've found that not always to be the case. I much prefer to surface it myself, because then I know it's flat, then I know I can use it immediately. So with that, thanks for coming along. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. If you want to ask a question, if I get some good questions in the comments, I'll be happy to address them in the next video. If you want to tell me all the stuff I did wrong, or things that I should be doing better, or any suggestions you might have, please put it down below in the comments. I really appreciate this budding community that is coming together. I've gotten so many nice messages. So many people have reached out to me and said really encouraging things. I hope y'all stick around. I hope you like what I'm doing. I hope you are interested in learning more about this as I go through it, and we can learn together. And I'm always open to better ways to do things, different ways to do things. It's part of being a maker, is learning and growing and finding other ways to do things. So thanks for joining me on this trip to the lumberyard. I hope you learned something. I hope this gave you the confidence to go to a place like this yourself. Find your local place, find a local group, learn more about the process. You have to put in the work, but I think it's worth it. With all that being said, if you'll excuse me, I got to go dig a splinter out of my hand. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.